Um, Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate your taking the time. We're going to spend about a half an hour going through NaviPayroll this morning. Um, really appreciate the opportunity by John and the DSWi team to get this together, where we can present. You can meet some myself and Lee and John specific to NaviPayroll. What we wanted to do is spend a little bit of time this morning just going through a few things and actually showing you the product. So we'll just introduce ourselves in just a moment here, but what we'll cover for the rest of the time, we're going to go through NaviPayroll overview and tour, and that's going to be led by Lee. You probably heard Lee saying he's been with NaviPayroll really from the very beginning, in fact, being one of the initial architects on it. So you've got the right person here to kind of talk through this, and if there's questions, we'll be happy to answer them. We're also we've got a special invitation for any of you to take a closer look. Any of you who are not using any of you who are not using NaviPayroll right now, and then we'll open it up to questions. We do have a reasonably small group today, so if you've got questions, you can either feel free to ask them along the way, or if you want to wait till we're finished with the session, we'll have some time. Or if you prefer to schedule time when we can do more of the questions one-on-one, that's perfectly fine as well. So the folks who are here, John, or do you want to give a quick intro of yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is John Bennett. I'm the account manager at DSWi. So I'm kind of your one-stop shop for any time you're looking for a solution like this or have questions about it. Feel free to reach out to me. I don't handle support, so unfortunately, if you have questions, in that regards, it's always best to reach out to April at support, and she can help you.
Great. Hey, Lee, how about yourself? Do you want to give a quick introduction?
Sure, no problem. Hello, my name's Lee, and I basically decided that instead of being a fireman or a police officer, I was going to do payroll my entire life. So that's where I ended up. So I've been supporting Navision, Business Central, on-prem, off-prem for basically my entire career here. So any payroll questions you have, I can help you with, and I'm just here to make sure that everybody can make it into the new Business Central world as easily as possible.
Great, thanks, Lee. And my name is Mark Sutton. I oversee the strategic partners here at Serenic. We're the publishers of NaviPayroll, in case that wasn't clear. We work with partners like DSWi, and John and team have been great partners over many, many years. They're certified experts in NaviPayroll, and really my role is to make sure that John and his team have everything that they need to make sure customers are successful using our products. So whatever you need, I'll work with John and his team to make sure that you've got, so that you succeed with what we're doing. And without further ado, I'll just kind of say a few words, a bit more about Serenic. So we're a company that is part of the Sylogist family. Sylogist is a public company listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. We've also been at this, as you probably heard earlier on, for a long time. Lee has been involved in this and for many, many years, but really the origins of NaviPayroll that some of you are using and some of you are probably just considering, we've been using this and working on this for over 30 years. So what you'll see is a very tried, tested, robust system that's really been used by many companies over the years, and the capabilities have been refined. We're a very close partner of Microsoft, so we are an ISV, so we're a publisher of software. We're a gold partner within the Microsoft ecosystem, and we're also NaviPayroll, as we'll get into. We're certified for Business Dynamics 365 Business Central, which means we're embedded with Business Central, and Lee is going to explain a little bit more about what that means and why that's important. And so really, at this point, I'd like to transition over to Lee, and he's going to be leading us through an overview of what NaviPayroll does. And we're going to even get into the product. Lee is going to share his screen here in a few minutes, and we're going to dig right in. So Lee, over to you to maybe give us a little bit of an overview of who uses NaviPayroll, and then a little bit of what sets it apart.
All right, good morning. All right, so The biggest thing is who doesn't use it. Because we have been around for a long time, we have industries that are nationwide. We've got multi-states, multi-areas. We can do everything from restaurant chains all over the place to manufacturing. We've got oil field. We have smaller 50 employee or less type systems that they're just running their payroll basic. And then we get all the ones up to the running thousands and thousands of employees each pay period, just processing. So the goal is always to make you a system that with the fewest push of a buttons can get you from start to A to B completed done, all right? The power of having something like this is when we talk about embedded, not integrated, is that your payroll resides in your financial world. So everything that you do from your time entry to your processing of your payroll actually enhances what you're going to see in your GLs and your ledger tables because everything is in one place working together. You can always find some outsourced payroll somewhere that you're just going to be sending it entries and you get this black and white final product, which is update your GL with these numbers, and you've lost all the magic of your system. Right? For how we work the payment in the new Business Central world, it's based off unique employees. So if you have a business and at one point in the year you have thousands of employees you're paying, but now it's winter or it's off season and you drop down to 500, then you're only paying for the people that you actually process payroll for. Right? So that's a huge cost savings that as you grow and shrink, what it costs you to do your payroll grows and shrinks with you. All right. So that's that one. All right. So today, the idea was to hit 6 main points for you, just to go over the powers of the system. We start off with a little bit of human resources because you can't process payroll without employees. So we have some parts in there that help to enhance that flavor. After that, we have the Holy Trinity. You can't have a payroll without employees. You can't have a payroll without an employer. And then everything you do is tracked within your payroll controls, right? So think of it like an Excel sheet. The rows are your employees. The columns are your pay controls. You're tracking earnings, benefits, deductions. Everything has to fit on that Excel sheet, and you use a million different payroll controls if you want to do that. After that, we're going to touch on your time entry, whether it's using our time entry tools or if you have a time clock, some kind of time processing system you use from a third party, and we're just pulling information in from them. Then how fast and easy can you process a payroll? We'll take a look at just processing, calculating, printing some checks, just to give you an overview of that. After that, we'll talk about some of the Business Central linkage. It shouldn't take long, but just so that you know, we are embedded in the system. So we have links directly to the GLs. We love dimensions. We have jobs, we have ledger tables, bank ledgers, all of that. And then we'll look at our Employee Central, which is what happens when an employee wants to come to your office and talk to you. And we'd rather they go to the website and talk to that instead, right? All right.
So with that, Lee, I will turn the screen over to you. And I know you're going to pull up NaviPayroll and kind of walk through some of these things together. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'll give you the screen.
All right, I will share. Let me know when people see a Business Central screen.
Got it.
All right, beautiful. All right, so then what we are going to do is we're starting at the main screen. So like the note said, I'm just going to try to work my way top bottom. If you have any questions, then please, by all means, shove those into the chat menu. And I'm sure that some of the others are going to be monitoring that, and we will ask those when we have a moment. I'm pretending that no one knows anything about payroll and Business Central right now, so please bear with me. And just remember that I would love to talk for at least half a day about all the features, but I'm going to try to sum this up into 20 minutes or less with only taking a few breaths while I do it. All right. So the first thing that we're going to start with is just human resources because it's first on the list for me. So the first thing that we're going to notice about the human resources connections is that we have a jobs. So this is any of your postings for people that you want to hire. Because you have a job, then you can create positions. Those positions can have salaries and rates and requirements for hiring. Then you're going to have your employee pool that you can do some tracking with, and then you have your applicants. So instead of having to have 2 or 3 cabinets worth of paper that you have to sort through every time you want to hire somebody, you can get them all entered into the system so that when you have a job, you can say they require these skills. It can look against your applicants and your employees and say, here's the top 10 people, go hard. All right, so that works with that. And in the super fast version, that's where I stop. Moving on, just to show you some of the things that we can track in here, we have some absence tracking, so you can figure out what happened to employees, when it happened to them, and what's going on. We've got unions, contracts, relatives, helps with the ACA reporting so that you know that these are my peoples and these are the people. We've got miscellaneous articles. He has a laptop. He has the keys to the office kind of thing. Confidential, there was reprimands, or there was, here's the stock options. Things you would find on a resume for putting in for qualifications and degrees and courses, stuff like that. At the bottom here, we have something called our pay structures and extended fields. And these are the fun ones. This is where it starts to map over the words that the HR person knows. So we can do things like the employee might make $30 an hour, but instead we might have a pay structure where that position is worth $30 an hour. So you can set up all your positions in your company to have rates of pay so that when employees work those, they're just filling that spot. We have extended fields, which allow us to look at and create anything you want. And I am going to take a look at that positions quick, at that extended fields, because that is the one thing I just want to show you. As a system, you'll notice that everything in here is data driven, which sounds weird. It's a computer program. Why is it data driven? Well, just because it is. A lot of systems out there that you'll touch, they're preset. They're built a certain way, and all you can do is use that certain way. And in this world, everything you do is flexible. So I have a field. I look, it's office locations. I always have a full list or a new button. So I can come in here and hit new, and I can create site 201. And this might be the Bronx I can type New York. All right, so you get something like that in there. So as your business grows, as your needs happen, you can always modify the system to change it to the way you want it to be. You're not stuck with what you're given, all right? So now that I'm in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into more options, because there's always more options, and I'm going to go into extended fields. So inside of here, I can track some stuff. So I have, too many clicks at one time. I've got first aid, so I know that it's going to expire on a date. We can actually use things like this to drive payroll. So 2 months before they expire, we could throw something on their pay stub that says, hey, here's $100, go get yourself recertified. I can set up employee reviews and employee onboarding, stuff like that, and I can create values. So I can make a new line here, and I could come in and I could say I want it to be my employee review, and then I go to take a look. When I take a look at this, I've got some options in here, right? But I could say, no, I want something else new, because we can always have something new. So I hit my new button. It comes in. I can say that it is for my employee review. And what's something silly? We could do fave, all right? You go the favorite manager. So now when you come in here, you can create fields for decimals, for dollars, whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, dates for expiries. Uppercase, you're just giving them a list. Pick your favorite color, red, blue, green. Text for them to type, yes, no, true, false, right? So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to link this somewhere else. You can actually link it to existing tables. So this is the fun part. So now that I've done that, what I can do is I'm just going to wait a moment for it to refresh. It's going to come over, and now I can pick my table. So I come into here, and I am going to go, and I'm going to go show as menu, search. I'm going to put in employee. Now I get all the tables in the system that have the word employee. So you can reference anything you want in your Business Central, finance, anything. I'm going to pick the employee table. I'm going to pick the employee number off the employee table. And now all of a sudden I have a field that's going to let me look and pick anyone in the company. So now that I've got that, I can come in. I always end up putting in today because I like that. And now I've got a link directly to, yes, update it. There we go. I've got a link to all my employees, so I can pick who I think my favorite person is, right? So the gist of that is that it gives you the power to change the system without involving developers or implementers or customizing. You're just like, I want this, and you can go out and you can get it. All right, and that's my HR talk for the moment. So if you have any other questions, throw them in the chat, or we can have another session after. All right, the next part is payroll, because payroll's fun. So to start off with, we do have employees because that's how we get people paid. We have employers because there's some things that just happen on that employer level. The only limitation you have in the system is that when you pay employees, you have to pay them per employer. So one payroll journal is going to have employer A and the other payroll journal is going to have employer B, but you can have an employee work for both employers at the same time, right? Now the pay controls, these are the magic, okay? You can have unlimited. I've had people go as big as 500 in pay controls in their system. I've other ones only go to 40. It just depends what you have going on. Now, when you're in a system, all these are like Lego, I like to call it. I have kids, I use the word Lego. Every payroll control is that green Lego pad. Then you have hundreds of method steps, which is your Lego, and you just assemble it. If you have an earnings control, one of your steps is going to be figure out the employee hours. The next step is going to be take that hours and multiply it by the employee's rate or by the employee's position rate or by some other thing that you want to do. So you can do all that. Structures for how you want to do things. It's all just pay controls to us. So an example would be vacation. I can type. In the system, we offer a base set of controls just to get you started, but we have an accruing vacation. How do you do it? Is it one time annually that you just on the 1st of January give them their time? Do you accrue it per pay period? Do you do it by their employment date? How? We can make that happen. Do you want to track dollars and hours? Only dollars, only hours? We can do that too. Do you want to know balances? Do you want to be able to pay it out as hours and earnings? However you do that, we just have to build the controls. It's like having Lego where you can build a boat, a plane, a car, a house, a bird. You're using the same Lego pieces, you're just assembling them in different ways. If you want to get more advanced, then there's things like your benefit plan, where we can take your reported annual salary, we can multiply it by 3, round it by the thousands, factor, percentage, round it to 2 decimal places, and you've now recreated what your benefit company says, this person owes us $43 a pay period. That way, when they say we're changing you by 0.0023%, you just make the 0.0023 change and all of your employee pool is automatically updated. So that's where I'm going to stop on pay controls. Again, that's another like 3-hour talk if you let me, but I'm going to move on a little here. So then we have the employee card. On your employees, you can have unlimited employees. You never have to worry. Like I said, you can have employees from 15 years ago. They can reside in your system and be there historically. It doesn't matter because you're only going to be billed for who you actually gave a paycheck for that month. If you pay the same person 3 times that month, there's still only one person. They only have one slot where they're going to get charged for. The other times is just secondary happenstance, but it's only unique employees in a month that get paid. So now on the employee card, you have all the fun stuff. You've got names, addresses, phone numbers. We have emails, company emails, personal emails, because when we come down here into our payroll, we have allow electronic pay stubs. So you can email the pay stubs to all your employees in here. After that, everything else is just setting up defaults for how you want that employee to work. Over on the side here, you can see that I have some absences. So if I take a look in here, I can see that they took vacation at such a time, they were sick another time. If you want to, you could actually link all of this to your pay control. So as part of your time entry process, you say they went to a funeral, they've gone for jury duty, they've gone wherever they've gone, you can create controls to track it. It just depends how much detail you want for that. You can see that grandma died for the 5th time and you're like, what happened there, right? Things can be tracked. After that, we've got the payroll. So we've got a payroll status for validation. And this is powerful for us because you can actually set up what on the employee you want to be set up before you can pay a person. So even though your system might have 200 different payroll controls in here that your system has, an employee may only need to have 30 of those or 40 of those. So everything from their 401k to which taxes they have or what type of earnings they use and what kind of tax they want to do and employer costs is everything that you would be able to assign to them. Because you've given that to them, then your system has to be set up. There has to be the supporting setup to be able to power that. So then if this shows invalid, you can click on this and then it will tell you these are the things you're missing. So you can clean up the employee quickly without having to guess. All right, so now we have 3 main parts that make an employee go. We have rates. That's just rates that are unique to the employee. We can set up rates on the employee. We can set up rates on the employer. And then we can set up rates inside of the payroll control. So because the payroll control works the same for everybody, example, your benefits program, then it wouldn't touch the employee. But because in here, the 401k is special, we've got this, all right? Everything is effective dates. Please use the effective dates, okay? Never overwrite a line, always make a new one. So vacation as an example, as of 2004, they got 4 weeks. We have activation codes. What this does is lets us come in and be able to use date math. So I've got benefits plus 3 months. You can have your benefit plan kick in. Vacation after plus 1 year, we're going to do something, right? So we can use math logic for the dates to do things. So after 1 year, we're going to go to 5. In 2024, the person's going to get 8 weeks vacation. Again, it just depends on how you want your system set up for what we can do. All right, the next example here is just tax information. For your states and federal reporting, you're just going to set up what you need off your W-4 forms. You're just going to have that in the system. It exists. It powers tax calculation. It'll happen. After that, we have our other authorities. This is where your human resources can kick in again. As far as your human resources is concerned, you have the ability to come in here and put in that for the health spent for your health and benefits, you can have family, married, single. As far as payroll is concerned, in the payroll control logic, we have those hooked up to rates of pay and amounts and per pay periods or annuals, and we do the math. So when the employee is getting onboarded, we're putting in that they're single. But from a payroll point of view, we just learned that that single is worth $23 a pay period for his benefits, as an example. Now, this person went from family to single, so then odds are that they might get a garnished control. With that garnish control, it's going to kick in at that same time, and that might be for 750, right? So you can have things like that that can be set up and processed through your system. All right. So at this point, there is a lot of other details in here and things that we can get into, but I'm trying to be quick. So again, just let us know if we can go through this with more detail for you later. Now, after we've done all this, one of the things that you would have noticed is that when we come back to it's a lot of menu hopping. So what we have is we have the ability to create like your default menu up here. So when I come into the time journal, which is the next area we're going to hit, you'll see that there's a bookmark tag up here. So you can just click and unclick this wherever you are, and whatever you bookmark is quick access. You don't have to drill down and go through all the menus. That's especially important for everybody who's still on the older versions of the system and are just kind of looking at this system with big eyes going, why do we have to click so many? It's been webinized. That's just what we have to live with right now. So now for time entry, we have our time journal. One of the portions we have in here is that you can come in here and you can do an import. So whatever time clock system, that you're using right now, whoever you're using it from, they can export the time out and it will be a file. That file then we can come into and we can import it in. We can import it. All the lines would hit here. There's an import report that says, hey, wait, these are minus hours. This beats out balances, things that you want to clean up or review. Once you're happy with it, you can commit it. When you commit it, then that time comes back to the time journal. So I'm going to throw in just a person, and I'm going to give them earn reg, let's say, okay? And I'm going to give them 24 hours worth. The other thing you have is this back and forth arrow that makes everything a little bit wider so you can see it. So I'm going to say that this is for admin and a job. I don't know, any job. Come on. And then once you've done your jobs, you can go into your tasks and just pick something. Say I'm going to say consulting. All right. Then I can go through. Now you can just put a big 40 hours and call it a day. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to do 12, and I'm going to say that this is for, I don't know, we had sales already, so let's do production here. All right. So I've just put in some random time for the person. So after I'm happy with it all, I can go in here and I can just post this time across, and it will go over to my payroll journal. Right. Oh my goodness. 1 second. Edit list, and if there's going to be a mistake, at least it's something that I can easily fix and show you how wonderful I am at this. And we go post and post. Yes. And off it goes. All right. So now that time is across there. The only other way that we have in the system right now to do time is we have what we call our time and expense area. Inside of here, you can do expenses. So this is like somebody wants to expense that they've took the company to lunch, or there's new office equipment or something. So you can push that through. Whenever you do that kind of thing, there's always the employee entering in whatever expenses, and then there's a manager or somebody having to approve those expenses. With the timesheets, the same kind of thing. There's somebody who's entering time into the system, and they can enter that by the day, by the hours, multiple lines for the different things they do. Or you can, right? But after you've done all that, you're still going to have that where you're going to be coming in and there's manager approvals, and then there's your payroll staff where you're actually going to be looking at that time. And then you have the ability to send that to payroll or to send that to your jobs or to approve or disapprove it, to kick it back and forth before you finally get your end results. But there is that portion of the system you could make use of. But again, a lot of people will use an actual outsourced time system that does schedulings and a whole bunch of other things that we just don't quite have yet, but we have a base for you. All right. So after we've done that, we can come in, we can go to our tasks, and I'm going to go into the payroll journal. So now, because I posted that, I've got lines in here. So now with these lines, you have some, just your general payroll processing. So you can come through, you can calculate thousands of people at once, or you can do a single calculate on somebody. If you're calculating 3,000 people at a shot, then you don't want to have to stop and wait all the time for payroll if you find mistakes or errors that need to be corrected. So what happens in this system is that it will calculate everybody. Anyone who is incomplete is going to turn up here with an incomplete line on them. And you can look at a log that shows you why people couldn't be processed. You can go and fix those 3 people out of your 4,000 and then just single calculate those 3 people to finish off your batch, all right? I've got 3 warnings, but those mostly because it's letting me know that normally earnings is calculated, but I time entered it. So it's just letting me know that I did it myself and it's all my fault, right? Now this view is going to be interesting for some. We have other ways to look at this. We can turn it more into a GUI interface. But as an example here, we have 2 different types of earnings. So when I come down here now, I have my flex insurance plan. I've got my social securities and my taxes and my states. I come down further. I actually set myself to distribute for my social security and my Medicare. So on my employer portion, it's not only gave me the total, but it's broken it up into 2 parts because I said break up by my dimensions. So I've got a sales portion and a production portion. So now when I have my GL, I'll be able to filter to show me everything that happened because of my sales department, and it'll have my employee earnings and it'll have my employer costs. So I can quickly just find everything on one quick report rather than having to then figure out end of the year how to split everything up. All right. So after that, you get into your payments options. So you can print your checks. When you print your checks, you have the option to do your remittance advices, because why waste check paper if you're doing your direct deposit in billing or payments? So you can print off that way. After you've done that, then you have the option to come in here and do your direct deposit. In here, you would create your direct deposits, you would export it so you can upload it to the bank, and if there was a problem, you can void it to fix it, or you can transmit to say that it happened at the bank and everything is locked up. I'm just not going to do that right now. After that, you come in and you can post. So then you're done, everything clears out. Everything, this is where we're getting into where's your linkages. Everything goes to your GL, right? And then everything goes to your bank ledgers, your check ledgers. You can send information directly over to your jobs, right? You have the ability to affect the rest of the system. So if you're looking for your projects, if you're tracking everything, the information's there for you, right? There are the additional options always. In payroll, you can do imports. So if you have an Excel sheet that you figured out everybody's Christmas bonus on, then you can actually push that into the system now, right? And just have your Excel sheet go directly in. You can see your traces and your calculation errors. Yes. That's basically all I'm going to talk about right now. Yes, I am. I want to keep talking, but I'm trying to keep us in a time frame. So I am sorry. All right. Now, the last part I'm going to talk about is what would an employee do if they wanted to come ask you a question? And you're like, please go to the website, right? So we have our search box. I'm going to put in my employee. And this is a screen representation here of what they would see if they just went to the website and typed in their username and password and were able to look at their employee card. It's not the full employee card, it's been cut down, but we have things like their balances they get to see here for what amounts they have. We could let them look at their tax setup and their benefits setup so they can know what kind of things are going on there. They've got some basic access to their employee card. They can type over and make changes, but those changes are put into a temporary space, right? If they make changes, then there's got to be a manager or a payroll person that has to go in and approve those changes. Once those changes have been approved, then they affect your actual employee card and employee information. Till then, it's just the employee hoping that those changes would occur. After that, they have access to their contacts and qualifications and other stuff. They can reprint their paychecks, right? So they can, instead of saying, I've lost my last 3 because why would I keep them? I just throw them out, but now my bank needs 3 copies. Can I have it? They can come here and get them themselves. All right. So it's a starter point. It's where they can come to get their information. So at this point, I would ask if anyone has been typing in questions or anything you want to talk to before we have to jump on to the next part of our presentation.